Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
It's Friday in the Riv. TGIF. And
And it's a beautiful day. It's not humid.
yeah, it's actually, God, I almost got a jacket out. I'm so not used to being
And it's
oppressively
going to be cooler
humid.
tomorrow morning. Overnight, it's supposed to go down into the high 50s. So,
Wow,
and
yeah,
there's no humidity for the next 3 days.
I know. Just make sure you close your windows tonight. If you leave them open at night, you might get pneumonia by the next morning. But the sterile news strikes again. They had an article about the trash and all the ways they're going to rape and pillage the taxpayers of Fall River. Now we're going to have the grass police, the barrel police. The only police we don't have are the taxpayer abuse police.
That's it.
That's the only police force we're not going to have. Yeah, and the other thing we're never going to have is any reduction in our spending, because all these things are geared to keep financing Coogan's never-ending job fair, buying votes and putting friends to work and giving out massive pay raises. Heaven forbid that we do something to control our taxing. No, I just want to know. I read that. That was ridiculous. They're going to have scanners to scan to make sure you put the right stuff in there. Not that, you shouldn't put the wrong thing. It aggravates me when I drive by recycle bins and I see plastic bags in them. You're not supposed to have plastic bags in the recycle bins.
That's right.
And you should be fined. But we hired people to check that.
Yes, I do.
I bet you they're still on a payroll somewhere, but they're not doing it.
Yeah, probably.
And they haven't done it in years. So this is the problem with this city. We hire people temporarily and they never go away. They just get melded into the fabric, and our budget just keeps getting bigger. And I have to correct it at the council. I said that we'd gone up to 300 from 78 when Coogan took over. It was 500. It's around 500 that we're picking up the trash. And then the Herald News, talk about a propaganda arm. Listen, Joe, get over to CNN, MSNBC. They lie all the time and they manipulate facts. You're well qualified. Paul Coogan is taking on the trash 4.5 years later. And we were paying for about 350 more people while he was on his watch. Got added to that list and he did absolutely nothing about it. That's like Kamala saying I wasn't the border czar. I wasn't the border czar. I was never the border czar. Well, that's a title they gave her in the media. And then they ran tapes of CNN and MSNBC calling her the border czar. They ran interviews of her being interviewed about the border. That's what they do. We do not have news media anymore. All we have is propagandists. I mean, they're going to scan my barrel? Well, I'm going to tell you something. They better give me a lock. That barrel and those scanners better come with electronic locks on the barrels for me. When they go by, they can unlock my lock electronically and empty my barrel. Because I'm not going to have some idiot walk by my house, throw some crap in my barrel while I'm out of the house. I put the barrel out in the evening, and then I'm off doing errands, and some idiot puts something in my barrel, and then they're going to stick it in my tax bill too? We can't find out how much we pay for Durfee. And those losers that we got for reps voted to allow them to put that in our tax bill. And you know what they'll say when you'll never know you got a fine. Because if you ask them, they'll go, it's too hard to tell you. You got a right. They're violating our constitutional rights. We have a right to due process. And if they don't let us appeal that and take them to court, because I'll tell you what, I have never gotten a citation in all the years we've had barrels, even when they had the people going around the barrels and picking them up. I throw my trash out. Trash is in the trash. Recycles are in the recycles.
You barely have any trash.
I'm not going to have some idiot throw something in my barrel, and it has happened before. Actually, I had one of my neighbors that always generates tons of trash come over and dump stuff in my barrel without asking me. So I saw him before the barrel mail came. So I took the bags out and I dumped them in his yard. He never did it again. If maybe he would have asked me to use my barrel and he had them in bags, I would have said, fine, it wasn't recyclables and the incorrect ones. But this is the kind of crap you got to put up with. There are going to be people dumping things in other people's barrels, but they don't give a damn. All Paul Coogan cares about, and the other thing I got to get before I turn it over to you. In that article, they talked about his special counsel. How many freaking lawyers do we need? Every important case we farm out to somebody else. We got another guy I never heard of. And his job is to figure out how they can, we're not trying to be a business. We're not making trash a business. But we want to act business-like. Well, you know what the businesses of the city is? Providing services to the people of Fall River. And spending our money correctly. Not figuring out more ways to tax everybody. Coogan, this guy is an unmitigated train wreck. Okay? I've never seen anybody spend money like this and just go back and just without even ever talking to the people, just figuring out ways to tax you. The grass police, the barrel police. Next, we're going to have to buy a whole fleet of drones. Let's have the drone police. And they're not going to be worried about crime. They're going to be worried about how they can get you with a fine. And with that, CJ, back to you.
I want to bring something up because they're saying that Paul did this. Paul has taken us down from 500 commercial accounts. Paul is saving us money. Who started that? Who brought that public? That was Michelle Dion. Michelle Dion made it public. Why didn't she get any credit? And she kept jumping on it from 78 to 330, now up to 500. How did it get to 500? Because Paul turned around and said, I'll pick up your trash. Don't worry about it. Or one of his flunkies said they would. That's why this is the way it is. And who pays for it? You and I. We pay for it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Taxpayers are paying for it. And business-like. Talk about shoving it up your backside. Business-like. Yeah, business-like means we're going to charge you. And they already said they were going to several times. Goes all the way back to Mary Sahadi. All the way back to Mary Sahadi. And Seth Aiken said it very clearly at the last city council meeting. We're going to have to look at new revenues. We're going to have to maybe look at a trash fee. We're going to have to look at that. This is what happens. This is what happens. And you're right, Louis. You're right. Political promises. Buying votes. We know that. We know that for sure.
That's right. My money's on that too. But I'll tell you one thing. Look, you and I both went before the council. Part of my presentation was to say exactly that Paul Coogan, Joe Good is a shameless, she's become a shameless political hack. She works for one politician at the pot place now, and as a reporter or I'm using reporter in in a euphemistic way when I refer to her. She's become nothing more than a propagandist. Paul's saving us money. Paul cost us money. Do the math. 78. Let's give him a break to do the numbers. When Paul took over, let's say we had 100, which is more than we actually had. Now we got 500. Do the freaking math. That's a 400% increase in how much trash we're picking up. And the taxpayer was paying for it. Paul saving your money? Paul pissed away your money by putting on 400 and some other people on the trash pickup list before he decided to stop it. And we've been paying it ever since we got in at an escalating rate. How dare you, Joe Good? How dare you? You call yourself a reporter and you don't know that? You didn't do your research? Didn't they teach you in journalism school to check your sources? You know, I've been paying taxes way too long in this city. I've never seen anything like this, ever. This guy, you can tell that he's been a political tick his whole life. He got a job from somebody, and fundamentally his entire family has got political jobs in one way or another. And his extended family. And if they got one outside the public sector, it's with somebody who's connected to them. Some bank or company that is connected. And they brought him over from the school department where he got his whole life getting a job, and he never taught in a classroom. Then he becomes a vice principal without being a classroom teacher. They never made him a principal. Now he comes over and he brings that attitude that, hey, this is the way it is. I'm in power. When my friends were in power, they gave me everything I needed. Now I'm going to give everybody that supports me everything they want and screw the taxpayers. And I'll tell you what, I had never really despised a mayor. Now I have an exception to that rule. And with that, CJ, back to you.
There's always exceptions. Always exceptions. Hey, our friend Nugent had a interesting comment. Paulie came in with a healthy stabilization account since day one. The man didn't do shit and still hasn't done shit for the people. You can't make this stuff up. We've been saying that since day one.
And he look, that's the thing. He's telling the truth. You know, he's telling the truth. And the truth doesn't fear investigation. You're right. You're right. He came into a stable city. Cliff Ponte took over the temporary mayor's stewardship, and he turned over a city that was already stabilized. But they like to wrap their story in this. Like Kamala now isn't the most leftist Senate that had ever occupied the Senate, even left of Bernie Sanders. And
hey, I found pictures of her with a known, now dead, child sex trafficker. I wonder who that is. I wonder.
Yeah, but and now they're changing history. They're great at rewriting history, and they talk about, oh, it's okay for these demonstrators to burn the flag. They were speaking their truth. Let me explain something to these wokey libtards. The truth is not malleable. The truth is not subject to interpretation. The truth is the truth. That's why they say the truth never fears investigation, because it never changes. Speaking your truth means you're full of shit. You're making up stuff. And I'm glad Netanyahu had one of the best lines when he spoke in front of the joint Congress. When he said, they got signs LGBTQT plus, and if I left one out, I apologize because they just keep adding stuff and I can't keep track of it. For Hamas. And he said, that's like a chicken carrying a sign, I'm for Kentucky Fried Chicken. Because you're going to be dinner. Those people go over there, they're going to throw them off a roof. That shows how dumb they are. They're just brainwashed, and as he called them, useful idiots. But, you know, I got a lot of respect for Netanyahu. He's got a set of cojones. But I'll tell you what, I have to disagree with the useful. I think it just should have been idiots, but I think he was probably trying to be kind because he was speaking in front of Congress. But this is the problem. These people lie or bend the truth, and it's not the truth. When you bend it, it's a half-truth. They tell half-truths, and half-truth is a half-lie. So the truth isn't a lie. So the whole thing is contrary, being philosophical. But the reality is, this is nuts. You know, and everything you read in a Herald, it used to be good for birdcage bottom liner. Now I wouldn't even let a parakeet walk on that stuff. Their feet might fall off. So CJ, back to you.
You're just too funny. You're just way too funny. I'll tell you right now. You know, it's unbelievable. Oh, and by the way, Kamala Harris came out against Netanyahu. So I'm wondering what she's going to do if she's ever elected president. It's going to be an interesting scenario. She wasn't happy with him. I should say came out against him. She wasn't happy with them. Well, guess what? A lot of people aren't happy with a lot of things in life. We get over it. You just have to learn to live with it or whatever. And understand, we don't have to live with excess taxes. We don't have to live with a dictator. We don't have to live with his flunkies. Like Bridget Almond, who admits that she was not qualified for the job. She admitted it on the air with Linda Pereira. Did Linda hold her accountable for that? No, not at all. She said, the public sector is totally different from the private sector. I came from the private sector. It takes 18 months or more to learn what needs to be done in the public sector. 18 months? Where are you now? Have you learned? The fact that you were hired and not be qualified speaks volumes about this administration. Even Seth Akins, who is an attorney by trade, by training, said he would take the job as a city administrator, but he would not deal with the numbers because he's not a numbers man. Yet every time he's in front of the city council, he talks about money. But he always does it with Bridget there. Let's be real. He always has backup. He has Bridget. He's vague. She gets specific.
Unqualified Bridget. Listen,
unqualified Bridget.
That speaks volumes to this administration. This guy is used to having incompetence being rewarded. Look, you can't get people to work in this city. They know what a disaster this city is. They don't want to work for this guy or this city anymore. Holding up a sign that said a war criminal near Netanyahu speaking before Congress. Yeah. Well, look, these people, they like to stick their nose in it, but you know, when we had 9/11, nobody said let's spare the lives of these people and worry about. Unfortunately, part of war is there are going to be casualties, but you have to do it. Seth does lie, but Seth was hired as a city administrator and he was unqualified. He's still unqualified.
That's right.
because the city administrator is supposed to be the numbers guy. Bob Connors, even the mall manager, Kathy Ann Viveris,
She knew the numbers.
that they had to freaking bring numbers up to the council.
That's right.
He's unqualified. All Coogan does is hire unqualified people and get them 17 assistants that we pay for. This guy is a train wreck. Now you know why they would never make him a principal. He couldn't run a school, but he's attempting to run a city. He's like Biden. Just hire more people, hire them totally unqualified, hire them for everything except qualifications, no merit. You know, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. Some people think it stands for didn't earn it. And in the case of these people, that's exactly. How can you hire a chief? Let me get that. Emphasize that again. Chief financial officer. The head one. The one that's going to tell everybody else and tell them what to do and do everything. And bring the most important thing to the council. The numbers. Does that explain now why every number they bring is only for discussion? They don't have a damn idea half of what they're doing. They hired somebody as the head of a department that had, by her own admission, took a salary, got pay raises, and worked in that job when she was unqualified for that job.
High salary.
That's right.
High wages.
And Akins takes a job and says, listen, I'll take the city administrator's job, but I'm not qualified either because I'm not a numbers guy. But I'll take it if you let me not do the numbers. So what does Paulie say? Screw it. I don't care if you can't count. I guess they don't do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division on the bar exam that they give in crayon in this state. They don't do that. Yeah, you're right. The Bobby Townhouse, I'm sure that he's going to sell as soon as he's not mayor. But listen, you can't run. You wonder why this city is in a total a total state of disarray. All they do is hire unqualified people. Now you got a superintendent of schools. You had one before that couldn't handle a job. He's hired another one that was a friend of his, and she got to listen. I believe in, I don't believe you can get Boston pay in Fall River, but you got to get a reasonable pay for cities of our size in an economic condition, because I had to go to the JLMC. $186,000 for superintendent of schools. And somebody said it's really 200,000 or something like that, barely 200. But listen, you get the big pay. You got to be, if you're gonna take the money, you not only got to talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. You got to be able to run your department. You can't, we can't have 6 assistant superintendents of schools and then be talking about a deputy superintendent. You can't have Bridget and then get her a financial analyst, have Aya Capone, and have her leading on everybody in her own office. She's got she had employees in her office explaining to her how to run the munis system. And we're paying her as the top gun. I mean, when are the taxpayer going to get furious? When you're getting fines that you don't even know attached to your tax bill. What else is Paul going to put on a tax bill and then tell us he can't tell us what we're paying? They can sure as hell come to a final figure, and I can guarantee you I can find an accounting firm that can tell you how those numbers are broken down and get to that final figure. This is a giant scam by the most incompetent, inept, disingenuous mayor we have ever had in the history of Fall River. And with that, CJ.
I like this one from Nugent. I mean, Paul is the new tax father. I'm going to offer you a new tax increase you can't refuse.
Good one. I like that one. This guy, you got to do a stand-up comedy show. I don't know.
Exactly. It's going to be interesting. The really sad part about it is that even the teachers did not want this woman to be the superintendent. Either she wasn't qualified or she just didn't have the personality. And we've seen this with Paul. People have said over and over again that Ryan Lyon should not be the elections commissioner. He is too political. And people even question our elections now. And if you question the elections, how can you trust anything? That's my big question to people out there. Why would you want to vote if your vote's not going to count because the elections commissioner isn't going to put it through the system? This is what people are believing. I'm not saying this is what's happening. Let's make this clear. I'm not saying that this is what's happening. But this is the belief people are having. This is the things people are saying. And Paulie put this guy in. Why? Because it was political. You want to know why it was political? Let me tell you. The election commission is totally political now. Dave Dennis, who's been an elections commissioner for a long time, and Paul had a fallout because Dave Dennis could not get money from the city for the Creators Art Network. They used to put on different events and whatnot. And because of that, there was a schism that was created between the two of them. So what happened? Dave Dennis was removed from the election commission. And a political flunky was put in instead. That's what happens at Fall River. Look at the park board. Marcia Yetkin. She was on the park board. She made sure that the park board was operating under the law. Under the law. She made sure she knew every Massachusetts general law that applied to the park department, parks, and the park boards. She knew that she could not be removed by the mayor without a 2/3 vote of the council. But Paul violated the law again and removed her and another park board member. This is what happens. Remember, when they say, I follow the law, probably they're not. They probably aren't. And that's the sad part about it. Because when we look back at the history of Paul since he's taken office, the only laws he seems to follow are the ones that benefit him. Like the 45-day rule for the city council. You've had the budget for 45 days. You didn't do anything. So, it's approved. Shouldn't be the way it is. Shouldn't be the way it is. And if the city council votes to not approve the budget, that's an action. That is an action. They don't have to go through every single line item and approve it or deny it. I make a motion to not approve this budget. Seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Budget not approved. Send it back to the mayor. And then corporate counsel says, you can't do it that way. You can't do it that way. That's bullshit.
Yeah, it
Absolute
is.
Bullshit.
It is. It's bullshit, but how many years on this show have we been telling people that the Corporation Council is not the Supreme Court of Massachusetts?
That's right.
He's just another lawyer with an opinion, and opinions are like anal sphincters. Everybody's got one, but some work better than others. He gives an opinion, and the city council uses that as an excuse not to do their job. Oh, the corporation council says we can't do it that way. Really? Did you get an opinion? Did you get a legal opinion from the state? Did you get a legal opinion from a reputable firm that handles things like this? No. You just said, oh, the corporation council says. And look at the way Paul does business, always behind the scenes. I never even heard of this guy. Special counsel in charge of figuring out ways how we can get more money from the people of Fall River. Why do we need him? We got other lawyers, Gary Howie. What do they litigate? I want to know what they litigate for all those salaries. This guy's job is to figure out how we can get money for Paul. Rumsey's job is to fashion opinions so Paul can manipulate or ignore the law. Gary Howiak, I guess, handles claims. At least he's got a job. He does, I think, the medical claims, and he does potholes or something like that. So he actually has a functional piece. But we've got outside firms doing everything. When we got to go to litigation, they never litigate a lawsuit against the city. They farm it out. They never litigate anything. And when they do the only time I remember them litigating, they screwed it up to a fare thee well. We all remember Dominion, CJ, don't we?
Oh, yeah, I remember
Oh,
that
yeah,
one.
they tried to do it themselves. Watch us, boy. We can do this. And they screwed that up to a fare thee well. So we got a law department where I don't even know how many lawyers. Nobody ever knows. I didn't know we had 7 people in the elections office till somebody told me that. I know we used to have like 2 and 1 part-timer. So 2 and a half.
One of our viewers may know exactly how many lawyers we have. Yep, there's Patrick now. What did he say? Corporation counsel litigate? You want the city to lose? They have to hire outside counsel for a possibility to win a case. Yeah, you're right. Hey, Patrick, how many lawyers do we have in the city?
Yeah, but even the outside places don't win.
Right.
Because we've got cases against us that are airtight. I mean, you got Malone. You think Malone's going to win? He was thrown out of 2 other school systems for doing exactly the same thing, and he was sued. I know he was sued in Swampscott because I know the attorney who litigated it.
Fall River has 5 assistant corporate counsels.
5 lawyers. That's probably the largest staff we've had in recent memory.
Yeah.
That's what Paul Coogan does best, slide these people in. And not one of their jobs is to actually be a real lawyer and litigate. They can't litigate. Their record is like 1 or 2 wins and 7,654 losses. That's their record.
And remember, that doesn't include the paralegals.
That's right. No, it doesn't include it. Well, 5 lawyers who don't litigate. Show me one of those 5 lawyers who litigated any of the lawsuits that we've had during the Coogan administration against the city. I want to know. It's our tax dollars. This guy is a nightmare. You're right. That's it. What was the name our man gave him?
The tax father.
The tax father. That's right. But instead of kissing his ring, you got to go over there and give him money. He doesn't need you to kiss the ring. Just give me more of your money.
Patrick says they all work part-time for a full-time salary.
And you're right, Patrick. You're right. Listen, a lot of these attorneys have made a good living from Fall River. We got guys that have been city attorneys for years. They're not litigators. You don't see them in court very often, ever litigating a case. So, and then
Bruce Assad.
Yeah, Bruce Assad. I mean, like I said, I know that Gary Howiak handles, he handles claims for, injured on duty claims when they go, when they're out on injured on duty. Yeah, well, you're right, Lou. Yeah. Well, I mean, look, we
Amazing
all
how
know.
we don't forget.
The problem is we got some people that watch our show that pay attention, and you know what's going on. They don't bury their head in the sand and use the ostrich approach and hope it goes away. Listen, this is not going to go away.
No, it's
Paul
not.
Coogan will keep spending your money, will keep taxing you until you put a stop to it. We have to put a stop to it by telling the council we will not vote you in again. We will not. We are going to throw him out. Yeah. I'm just waiting for these space age trucks and how much they're gonna break down when they're gonna scan everything. These people can't have a dump and read the paper at the same time. The people that are running this city, okay? I'm sorry. Multitask, they can't even do a singular task. I mean, they need 6 assistants to do everything, and then they go up there and they pretend. But you know why they pretend? Because our city council, with the exception of Michelle and a few others once in a while, they allow them to pretend. They go up there and say these numbers are for discussion purposes only. You know what the city council should say to them? Well, get up, get out of the council chamber, and come back with real numbers for us. We're not going to deal.
I've been saying that for years.
We're not going to deal with numbers that are for discussion only. We are the fiduciaries of the taxpayers of Fall River. We're not spending their money with numbers that maybe they're correct. They might be correct. They're for discussion purposes only. Oh, they're estimates. They might be ballpark. No, that's not the way it's done. Why did we make $17.5 million in the past 4 fiscal years on healthcare? Because when we go into a meeting on healthcare, you think I'm going to sit in that room and have them tell me these are not solid numbers? But you know the reason we get solid numbers? Nobody from Fall River's involved.
Imagine that.
That's why we get good numbers. We have a company. It used to be, it was another name. It was Group Benefit Strategies when we hired it years ago. I actually hired them. I was the chairman of the IC when we hired Jack Shary and Group Benefit Strategies. Then they were bought out by Gallagher. Gallagher is a very large company that's experts in the healthcare field. And I'm going to tell you what, you know me, I'm a numbers guy. Their numbers are dead on all the time. That's why we always get our money's worth. We've saved hundreds of millions of dollars for this city in healthcare. $74 million just from the Canadian drug plan that we negotiated, that we got. And all these other 17 million, in premiums that they could. Why? Because we actually will not. You come in a room and tell me these numbers of a discussion. I'm going to tell you, beat it. I'm leaving the meeting. I'm not going to talk about numbers that are for discussion purposes only. Give me the numbers. You remember a few years ago when I said it was 40 million and Sahadi was saying it was 45. Then when she was pressed, Gallagher got up at that meeting and said it's 40 million. And then Sahadi had to admit, well, yeah, it is 40 million, but I added this insurance and that insurance and that insurance to it. Well, you padded it. It wasn't the real number. It wasn't the real number. 40 million was the number. But this is what we deal with. Same thing with the retirement board. You think when we get our investment portfolio from Prim, we get discussion numbers? No. We got what they've done for the past 5 years, broken down by every single investment in a very large investment portfolio, and what they're projecting in the future. Those are actuarial projections. They're not perfect sometimes, but they're based and always have been within a ballpark. We don't accept this, well, investments down the road. Well, what are the investments going to be in? What does the investment portfolio look like? What is their history of actually performing well? Yeah, so Jasel's getting recognition. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I give Sean Kadim that he said he was a better, and he had no idea. That was at the very beginning of Paul's administration. And I hate to say it, but it's gone to hell in a handbasket ever since. Like I said, but you forget about the article. By good, he's taking a bull by the horns. He's handlers. Well, when he took that thing from Jasel, we had 78 people getting their trash picked up. By the time Paul decided to work on it 4.5 years later, we got 500. So who's paying for their trash? If you live in Fall River, raise your hand because you're paying in your rent or your tax bill. We've been paying. And the only reason Paul got rid of this, it would have stayed there and kept growing. The only reason he got rid of it is we're dead broke. We're not looking for nickels and dimes anymore. He's looking for pennies and soda cans to cash in. That's how bad we're getting. With that, CJ.
I got to tell you, sometimes it makes me laugh. And, one of the things that caught my eye was something Nugent said when he said that he, a former diehard Coogan supporter, was disappointed and chose not to vote for him next time because his taxes are going way up in 2 years. 32%. Yeah, where's the 2.5% that is supposed to go up? No, 32%. That's how it works with Paul Coogan. Okay? We reevaluate your property when it's convenient for us. It's supposed to be once every 3 years, but when it's convenient for us. How about those new developments with the high-end apartments that are getting $2,500 a month for rent, and the buildings are valued at $77,000? Hey, Mr. Gonzalez, wake up! Isn't it time to reevaluate those? $77,000, $87,000. Would you drive by my house and say it's worth $400 or $500? You're right, Louis. He did get rid of the 500 people, 500 commercial trash thing because he got called out on it. Michelle Dion called him out on it several times. And then they started doing the dollars. They started figuring out how much it was costing them. And Paul said, we don't have the money for that. We're at almost $500 million and we have nothing to show for it. Nothing. And I brought up a good point to Michelle Dion, and I asked her, why do we not get these huge federal grants that other cities and towns in our area are getting? Okay? And she says, oh no, we get grants. I said, no, we don't. I said, just look at what happened. Look at what just happened. Providence just got a huge grant. Huge. I've never heard of Fall River getting huge federal grants. We always get state grants. And you know why? Because we have one person who's a grant writer. One person. And that's the shame. Okay? And if you hired your grant writers with a base salary, a reasonable base salary, and then, because it is written into the grants, a commission type deal on those grants, you get more grants. You get more
But they
grants.
don't. But CJ, see, that's assuming they care. As
Right.
long as they're using us for an ATM machine, they don't care.
That's
The
right.
reality is that you said 32%. You're right. They go up. I had a chart laying somewhere in my files of how much your property taxes have gone up. It's never 2.5. It's
No,
more
of course
because
not.
people don't understand. It's 2.5 of the
On the aggregate.
of the aggregate base. But
That's
that
right.
base, remember, you're picking up the slack. The guy who now is paying $77,000 for a building that they put over 400 million into the thing or something like that. I don't know. Well, they got 48 units. He's getting $2,500 to $3,000 a month rents, and his assessed value is that. I mean, that's absurd. But they also get TIFs. We pay for those.
That's
Remember
right.
that when their tax bill doesn't go away when they get a TIF. It gets shifted to us. When they get 80% off their taxes, yeah, you're right. When they shift it, they get an 80% tax reduction, that goes into the aggregate base and we pick it up. That's the way it works. So the people who are getting and Stevie B, you're right. I remember that one about taping the worms. Yeah, I know. That was a good one. I have to admit that one. I'm surprised he doesn't tax us for the worms. I should have never said that. That'll probably be at the next meeting.
That's right. That'll be one of those undisclosed line items in the tax, like the debt exclusion.
Yeah, those high-end apartments. Yeah. No matter how the city explain, look, they're giving these people preferential treatment. And I think that Nelson will ultimately break all of the stats he's got in some very, very wealthy and very long-term Fall River high investors. You will find that they're getting well, now we will call it the Kathy Ann Viveris treatment, because we all remember about Kathy's.
Yes, we do.
So, and I think that will pale by comparison of some of these numbers. It's just crazy. But look, bottom line is, guys and gals, we've got to get rid of these people. We've got to get the rest of the people to pay attention. I mean, we're here. We know what we do. I know you guys don't. You guys, try. We try. We vote. I'm going in November. It's not a city election, but I'm going. But I'm going to tell you right now, so far, our state representative delegation, they should all be primary the next time they run.
I agree. I've been saying that for a long
Because
time.
these people are a disgrace. First of all, they all voted not to give preference to veterans, homeless veterans,
That's right,
over illegals. Right off the bat. And shame on Alan Sylvia again. He said, I didn't vote for it. And we showed the vote on his show. We never heard that again. We didn't hear that denial. He hopes we forgot, but we didn't forget. And Schmidt's a vet, too. Those two.
Schmidt's not running, so.
Yeah, well, but Schmidt was a vet, and he voted against it.
I know.
Schmidt's not running. But the thing is, and now they voted to allow them to stick more stuff on your tax bill.
That's it.
All your fines. They don't care about you. They don't care a damn thing about you. They don't care about us. Now, like I said, we got the grass police. I wonder how many people is Paul going to hire to walk around with a tape measure to measure your grass? CJ, it's 1/16 of an inch over the ordinance. Here's your fine.
$100 fine.
That's it, a $100 fine. Going to walk around. Well, maybe they'll do it by drone, or they'll hire some high-tech thing to measure your grass.
There you go.
All I got to say is, Paul, do weeds count? Or is only grass? Because I'll take you to court. If you measured my weeds, they're always higher than the grass.
That's right. That's right.
So with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Well, I'll tell you now, it was a very interesting show today. I loved it. It's going to be a great weekend, people. Enjoy it while you can. There won't be that much humidity. It's supposed to be comfortable until Monday. So please enjoy the weekend while you can. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Because guess what? They're not looking out for you, so you got to look out for yourself. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.